Our speaker this month is Dr. Howard Pollick, health science clinical professor and previous director of the accredited dental public health residency program, Department of Preventative and Restorative Dental Services, School of Dentistry, University of California, San Francisco. Here it is BDS from Manchester, England, and MPH from UC Berkeley. Yay, Berkeley. I'm also a Berkeley graduate. He published and lectured extensively on the benefits and safety of community water fluoridation. As a point, I think that I regard fluoride as an essential trace mineral, but he'll tell you more about that. He's a diplomate of the American Board of Dental Public Health since 1985. Dr. Pollick is an American Dental Association expert, spokesperson on fluoridation since 2004, member of the ADA National Fluoridation Advisory Committee, and a fluoridation consultant for the California Department of Public Health. He's a recipient of the 2010 Fluoridation Special Merit Award from the Association of State and Territorial Dental Directors, and the 2015 recipient of the UCSF Chancellor's Award for Public Services. Yay. And the recipient of the 2017 John W. Knutson Distinguished Service Award in Dental Public Health for the American Public Health Association Oral Health Section. I'd like to welcome Dr. Pollick to our meeting. Thank you, Dr. Pollick.
Thank you very much. Mark Alexander, a graduate of the dental school at UCSF, sent me an email saying he was organizing some of these meetings for your group. And he was looking for somebody he knew who was still at UCSF. And I may be one of the oldest, if not the oldest, faculty member there still. And I'm not doing any clinical work now. I gave that up when I turned 70. I'm 78 now. And but I'm on recall, as they call it, at the university, and I have a contract with the California Department of Public Health to promote water fluoridation. Just a little background on community water fluoridation. It is controversial in some quarters, but approximately 70% public water supplies in the United States are fluoridated, and about 60% here in California. So it's kind of the norm, and people are suffering less from the ravages and burden of tooth decay because of it. It's not a panacea. You still have to clean your teeth and use fluoride toothpaste, but it does help, particularly people who have some sort of disadvantage, socioeconomic, physical, mental, whatever it may be, because you don't have to change your behavior if you're using tap water, and if your tap water is fluoridated. Anyway, let me get to the presentation that I put together. All right. So Mark asked me for a title for this presentation, and after having scoured the internet a little bit, I came up with this title: Recent Interest in Oral Health or Dental Health and Parkinson's Disease. And I didn't put a date on this, but it is today, speaking to you live. So I'm going to click through this, and please add in the chat. I won't be monitoring the chat, but if somebody else is monitoring it and has a particular question, I can take a look at that. All right. So what I found is a recent article from a few months ago on Parkinson's disease and oral health, and it's a systematic review. So systematic reviews are kind of the state of the art in terms of publications, where they search for all kind of articles with certain keywords, obviously Parkinson's disease, oral health, but some other keywords. And then they sift through those using particular inclusion criteria and exclusion criteria, and whittle it down to what is just a little over 40 articles in this particular review that look at this particular topic. And I'm going to share the screen now of this particular article in the Archives of Oral Biology, which is a well-respected journal. And this is a group from the Netherlands, primarily from Amsterdam, the university there. And it's well done. Yeah, some systematic reviews are kind of garbage in, garbage out, but I believe that this is very well done. And I'm not going to bore you with all the details of this particular review, but I will share with you the conclusions at the top of the screen, which is showing just now. And your screen may interfere with the way this looks. So it says the conclusions of this study, oral health of people with Parkinson's disease is worse than that of healthy individuals, generally speaking. Not every study has reached that conclusion. It's associated with the duration and the severity of the disease and medication use. And they concluded that we advise regular appointments with oral health care professionals with an important focus on prevention. So that's the bottom line. And my specialty of dental public health really does focus on prevention. And so that's the emphasis that I'm going to take. I'm not going to really talk about various dental treatments. If you have problems, you can discuss that with your dentist, hopefully, but I'll be available to answer questions at the end. So the group Parkinson's Foundation, Parkinson.org, has, from just over a year ago, a piece on tips for improving dental health with Parkinson's. And then 4 years prior to that, they had one, the basics of oral health and Parkinson's. So using some of the information provided in those presentations online, and the links are there. And I can share this document with you at a later date. I can provide it, but you're also recording this, so you won't be necessarily able to click on the link of the recording. So anybody who has a question afterwards about getting more information, just contact me. So in this particular article, it talks about the 4 dreaded Ds of oral health. And that is dry mouth for some people, drooling, which is usually a symptom. I suffer from that a little bit when I'm talking. So, and I don't believe I have signs of Parkinson's, but seems to be excessive in people with Parkinson's. And it's mainly due to difficulty swallowing, or this word called dysphagia that you probably are familiar with. And so the saliva that's pooling in your mouth just comes out of your lips, and you're not swallowing it because of the difficulty you may have with swallowing. And oral bacteria are generally not thought of as deadly, but there's this thing called it's a pneumonia that can occur from all the bacteria in your mouth, particularly debilitated, maybe in hospital, had to go in for a general anesthetic. All those bacteria can get into your lungs and can be very serious. We know that Parkinson's can interfere with eating and cleaning your teeth. So what are the tips? So frequent and thorough oral care, to the extent that you can do that. Often caregivers may be called upon to assist in that regard. And then using a fluoride toothpaste twice a day is very important to help prevent tooth decay. So even if you're not able to clean your teeth absolutely thoroughly, the fluoride gets into the dental plaque that remains and forms a reservoir to help fight off the effects of the bacteria breaking down the sugars that we eat. Sugars are in most things that we eat, whether they're natural or artificial. Stay hydrated. That's true for everybody. Um, Perhaps drinking in an upright position. So if you're lying in bed because of some debilitation, it's kind of difficult to swallow. Eating and drinking in an upright position is better. Taking small bites, sips of liquid. And my father always told me not to talk with my mouth full. Um, And then after eating a meal or a snack, you want to check the insides of your cheeks for any food that remains because you may have difficulty in moving that food around with your tongue. Um, there are special toothbrushes. I'm going to go into various types of toothbrushes. Some are familiar to you, some are not, perhaps. And I may not be including the kind of toothbrush that you use. Electric toothbrushes. I use a battery operated toothbrush that requires replacing the batteries and replacing the head about every 3 months. There are other electric toothbrushes that you plug into the wall and the electricity turns the bristles in a way that rotates round and helps remove more plaque than just a regular manual, what we call a manual toothbrush. So this is what this particular toothbrush looks like. It's rather strange looking. Those bristles at the top don't actually converge. They're two separate layers of bristles, one for the outside of the teeth, one for the inside of the teeth. And then a small row of bristles to clean the tops of your teeth. And there's a diagram here that shows how that toothbrush would get both sides of the tooth at the same time, as well as cleaning off the food debris on the top. This is an abstract view of a tooth, enamel on the top, dentine, and the pulp. Some of you may have had a root canal procedure where the pulp was infected and had to be removed and replaced with some inert material to keep the tooth in place. Where the bristles are focused here in this picture, you see they're sort of getting between the gum and the tooth. With a rotary kind of toothbrush, or electric toothbrush, that's not really possible. So sometimes a manual toothbrush is even preferable to try to get into the area. Sometimes we call it a pocket between the gum and the tooth. Various other kinds of toothbrushes. There are other companies that make this three-sided toothbrush. This is called Trio. And then some toothbrushes have been made with larger handles that may be easier to grip, with a larger surface area to get at the teeth in a better way. These are interesting. This is a device. You plug it in to the wall and into the socket, and there's a connection to this device that then gets charged, and then you can separate that because the battery is already charged inside it. You put this device inside your mouth, and it cleans all the teeth at the same time with a vibration. And their study that was recently published says that the manual toothbrush didn't remove plaque from the lingual surfaces, that is, the surfaces of the teeth on the inside of your mouth, next to the tongue, whereas this particular brush did remove the plaque on the lingual surfaces on the tongue side. So there's some advantages to this. It's a little strange to use. It's often like some of you may have had orthodontic treatment with Invisalign, or you may have had a bite guard to stop you clenching your teeth and causing TMJ problems. But it's the kind of thing that you just put into your mouth, and within 30 seconds to a minute, you could stop it, and it's dislodged the plaque from your teeth by and large. Maybe not between the teeth, and that's another topic. Regular toothbrushes can be adapted to be held. If you have difficulty holding a thin toothbrush, this is a device where you can put your whole hand in there and guide the toothbrush. They're called it's a hand strap cuff toothbrush for hand tremors, suitable for people with different conditions, Parkinson's being one of those. And then the three-headed toothbrush, you see a video of how this would be used. It cleans all three surfaces, top and two sides, all at the same time. It's very helpful, bit unusual. And it comes in this particular product with a big block of plastic at the end. And the next on the screen next, you'll see that there's a video coming up, and I'm going to show you that video and how to use that.
Hey everyone, Dr. Ted here. Today we're going to go over the brushing by handle and how to use it. First thing is the actual triple bristle head, and how to hold this handle is actually with a full fist grip, or again with a pencil grip that allows you to still get everything front, back, side, very easily. The last thing that we want to look at is, of course, the built-in bite block. Now, for a parent or caregiver, when you're using this, flip the handle around, hold it with your thumb at the top, grip underneath, prop in the front, or you can hold it from the side. With the built-in grips on the top, you can do either position, and that allows you to be able to brush on the opposite side for your child or adult child more efficiently, properly, and as well as flossing. So again, the brushing by handle with the triple bristle head just helps get that home care a little bit easier, a little bit more efficient. Thank you. Hey, everyone.
So, yes, there are various devices that have been developed, and you won't see all of these on the shelves in your local CVS or Walgreens or something, but go online and you can find these things on Amazon.com and get them delivered to your door. People often like to suck on something if they have a dry mouth, and so you want to make sure that that thing that you're sucking on isn't going to harm your teeth. So it should be sugar-free. And if you're used to like sucking on lemon drops, that may not be advised either, because they can be acidic, and that acid can actually thin out the enamel on your teeth, which doesn't get replaced. So especially if you've got sensitive teeth, you don't want to do that. So if you experience dry mouth, there's various over-the-counter remedies. Should be sugar-free. I'm going to emphasize that, and have a pleasant taste. This particular product called Breath Savers comes in different flavors. This is peppermint. They have wintergreen, and they have spearmint. And you should avoid alcohol, except on special occasions, obviously, but it can make your dry mouth condition worse. And then what do you do about cleaning between your teeth? So dental floss, it may be difficult for you to manipulate. If you have a caregiver, they can perhaps floss your teeth for you. It's not always easy to do that for another person. There's also a water pick. My wife likes the water pick. You can hold it, fill it with water, and make sure you turn it on when it's in your mouth. Otherwise, the water goes all over the sink or the bathroom or whatever, and it can flush out a lot of food material. It won't necessarily remove the dental plaque, but it does help. And then there's a question about whether mouthwashes should be used. So if you have movement symptoms making it difficult to floss, then consider a water pick instead. Question about whether or not to use a mouthwash. They perhaps are being discouraged for people with Parkinson's because of the risk of choking on them. They're designed to be just swished around the mouth and spit, and don't rinse with water afterwards because the mouthwash contains some favorable kinds of stuff in it that will help keep your mouth healthy. But also ask your doctor or dentist if, and some dentists don't like that phrase because they think of themselves as doctors as well. So physicians or dentists, if it is safe for you to use mouthwash. And if you're going to use a mouthwash, I prefer ones that have fluoride. CVS makes a product, and both of these products, ACT and the CVS product, have no alcohol in them, and they do have fluoride, and they do help. And you rinse out after you've cleaned your teeth or after a meal with this, or just before you go to bed with this. Just rinse it for as long as you can hold it in your mouth and spit it out. Do not rinse with water afterwards so that the effect lasts longer. Okay. And Biotene is a company that makes specially formulated toothpaste. This is a fluoride toothpaste, and it's recommended for those with dry mouth. And these usually are available in your local drugstore. My wife is at high risk for tooth decay because she was getting cavities on the root surfaces of her teeth, and was prescribed a prescription strength fluoride toothpaste. So this is not over the counter. You have to get a prescription for this. And if you're at high risk for cavities, that is, you've had a cavity recently, or the dentist thinks that you're at high risk for other reasons, dry mouth, perhaps, for not being able to clean your teeth that well. This has about 5 times the concentration of fluoride that's used just like a toothpaste, and then you spit it out. And again, I suggest that you don't rinse with water afterwards so that the effect lasts longer. So in summary, we're going to ask a question about, do you have a dentist? Do you have a dental home? And you would go to the dentist for dental problems, but also you would go for preventive advice. So if you're struggling with how to use any of these devices, then ask the dentist. Most dentists have a dental hygienist as well. And that's the specialty of dental hygiene, is to advise you on how to use these devices to keep your mouth healthy. It's not just going to the hygienist to get your teeth cleaned. So we'll stop for questions. I do have another video. It goes on for about 11 minutes. And but I'm going to stop sharing my screen for the time being, and we can have a conversation. So I'm just open for anybody who wants to put a question in the chat, or just open your mic and unmute yourself, and we'll have a conversation.
If you're on well water instead of city water, are there any things to compensate for the lack of fluoride is the question.
You're at a higher risk for tooth decay if you don't have fluoridated water access to it. There are some bottled waters you can purchase. They may not be readily available in the local stores. You could go on Amazon and get some, but some stores do carry fluoridated bottled water. That's another way you can get that. But you can, you just have to up the ante, as it were. You just have to, maybe, instead of, if you're only brushing your teeth with a fluoride toothpaste once a day, make sure you do it twice a day, or even 3 times a day, especially if you're getting cavities. If your dentist has said, you've got a cavity here, or even in the last year or 2, you've had a cavity, that puts you at what we call high risk for getting tooth decay. And so the usual advice is don't eat candy. Uh, you know, maybe at Halloween, okay, some leftover candy you didn't give out. Halloween's coming up soon. But in general, try to avoid the sugary items and use the fluoride toothpaste. And then I mentioned the prescription fluoride toothpaste that your dentist can prescribe for.
Is there any evidence that drinking fluoridated water leads to any physical or mental health problems?
That's often asked. And if you go on the internet, you'll find various opinions about that. If you go to authoritative sources like the American Dental Association, American Medical Association, World Health Organization, so many major organizations support the use of fluoridated water. And we have yet to see, after 75 years of experience with it, any medical problems from using fluoridated water. That doesn't mean to say there haven't been an occasional study here or there that makes some sort of link with fluoridated water and some health problem. But when you look at the totality of the studies and the way the studies were done, there is really no evidence that fluoridated water is harmful.
Where is fluoride sourced? This, I presume you mean the fluoride that's added to municipal water and toothpaste, mouthwash, that sort of thing.
Okay, well, fluoride is one of the elements in the table of elements. As fluorine, which is a gas, it doesn't exist naturally because it would evaporate. But the fluoride ion is a natural component of our bodies. All vertebrates, humans, and other animals have bones that contain fluoride. You cannot avoid fluoride. Fluoride is a natural part of the ocean at a higher concentration because, salt water, salty, and it also contains higher fluoride. But all rivers, all groundwater contains some fluoride. The question is, what's the concentration? So, because every substance can be detrimental if it's at a high concentration or high dose, but it's a matter of what is the concentration, what is the dose. So fluoridated water is fluoridated at 0.7 parts per million. It's very low concentration. I talked about the prescription fluoride toothpaste being 5,000 parts per million of fluoride, very high dose. So you don't want to go swallowing it too much. Only use a little bit on your toothbrush. And the source of where fluoride is primarily is from rocks. And when the rocks are mined for phosphates that are used for fertilizer, for instance, fluoride is a natural component of that. And so fluoride separates out, and that's the source of fluoride for putting it in toothpaste or putting it in the water.
Yeah, my problem with my teeth has been mainly gum disease, and I've had several procedures to rebuild the bones, and it do the same reasons and remedies for gum disease as well.
Well,
they say that it's because I'm an Englishman. Some of the doctors, they said I had dental care in England. So
well, I'm from England as well. That's where I got my.
I know that.
I grew up in Manchester and went to dental school there. And yeah, the English got a bad rap for their dental condition, and maybe it's the National Health Service or something. But we tried to get fluoride in the water there, and there was local opposition, but the struggle still continues. In terms of gum disease, We don't have a specific biochemical approach to preventing gum disease, the typical kind of gum disease.
Mhm.
As you get older, as we all get older, I mentioned I'm older too, our gums recede, exposing the roots of the teeth. We lose some support for the teeth. They can get loose, or we just get a reduced bone support as well as gum support. And the primary objective of treating gum disease, or what we call periodontal disease, is cleaning your teeth. It's very, very basic. And if you've got what we call 5 millimeter pockets between the gum and the tooth, you cannot clean that. I cannot clean the couple of 5 millimeter pockets I have. I can't get down there with a toothbrush or anything. So I have to go to the hygienist. So going frequently to the dentist or hygienist to get those pockets cleaned is the treatment of choice. Yeah, there are surgical approaches, etc. You may have been through, grafting, all kinds of things that they do, but essentially, just cleaning your teeth as well as you can on a twice a day as best you can.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks for your question. Sorry about your gums. I see you smiling. You've got a lot of teeth there. Oh, some of them come out at night, do they?
So the question was that she's noticed that when she buys toothpaste, she checks the fluoride level in the toothpaste, and she sees that the level has been increasing lately, and wondering what would be an appropriate level in a toothpaste, and is there any danger should you be swallowing it like a kid does?
Yeah, so for some of you have grandchildren, young age, and the child shouldn't apply the toothpaste to the toothbrush themselves because they will apply too much. Because as you mentioned, am I talking to Stuart or Mark? I can't remember.
Stuart's here with the mic.
Okay, yes, Stuart then. Children haven't yet developed the ability to control their swallowing. So they swallow everything. And so a very small amount of fluoride toothpaste on the toothbrush for young children. If you have difficulty spitting out the toothpaste and you tend to swallow it more, then just the usual amount of fluoride on the toothpaste, toothbrush, will not harm you if you're doing that once or twice a day and swallowing most of it. Has the fluoride increased in toothpaste recently? That was a question. Not necessarily, but the compound that's used does change from time to time. So do you remember Colgate with MFP, maybe? That was monofluorophosphate. And that was broken down in the mouth to release the fluoride. And because it's a bigger molecule, so it looks like on the packet there's a higher amount, but it's still the same 1,000 parts per million. Sodium fluoride was used, and that's a smaller molecule. And so it looks like on the packet that the amount is smaller, but it's not necessarily. And then stannous fluoride, the stannous ion, tin ion is a little bit larger molecule, so it looks like there's more of it. But basically, it all comes down to 1,000 parts per million of the fluoride ion, whether it's from monofluorophosphate, sodium fluoride, or stannous fluoride.
Is there any evidence that people with silver or metallic fillings, I guess, are more susceptible to Parkinson's disease?
That has been looked into fairly extensively, and because of concerns of mercury from silver fillings. When the silver mercury compound is mixed, it's very stable. It's a compound that doesn't break down. And so there are people who used to, in my day, we were told in dental school in the 60s, you get the powder, which is the silver filings, and literally pure mercury, and you work it in a pestle and mortar and to form a little paste. And then you scoop that out with a piece of gauze and you squeeze out the extra mercury. And then you pack it into the cavity, and then it hardens. And when that chemical reaction prevents the mercury from escaping. So people that work with mercury like that are at risk for getting the mercury absorbed through their skin. But once the filling is in there, there's not a real problem. Some people want to go and have all of their silver or amalgam fillings removed. And if that's done, then the dentist is drilling that out and creating particles. And unless the fillings are being removed under kind of conditions where there's high-speed suction, as well as perhaps a rubber dam to prevent the stuff from going down your throat, there is a risk of getting a transient increase in mercury in your system. But that's not been shown to cause a problem.
Another question here from Mark. Question about, is it xylitol?
Xylitol?
Xylitol. Something made out of xylitol.
Yeah.
Xylomelt.
Oh, those are kind of like candies, I believe, made out of xylitol. Tablets or
this is something to help with dry mouth.
Yeah, those are good. And because the xylitol is a sugar alcohol, so it's not sugar, but it's chemically, it's got a 5-carbon ring instead of 6-carbon ring. So it's derived from barks of trees, and the xylitol actually can inhibit bacterial growth. So it slows the bacteria from multiplying. And the only side effect from taking too much of that xylitol is you get GI gas, gastrointestinal bloating. And you might not object to it, but the people around you might.
And don't feed it to your dog.
Oh, yeah. No, don't feed it to your dog, and don't feed chocolate to your dog either.
Okay, question about MI paste.
Wow, we're getting into some detailed stuff. So MI paste is not harmful in any way, but I wouldn't recommend it over a fluoride toothpaste. The fluoride is much more efficacious. The MI paste is got minerals in it that will sort of get picked up by the plaque on your teeth and help to remineralize your teeth, but not to the same extent as fluoride. Fluoride is the most electronegatively charged ion. It's like a super magnet, and it gets in there. The MI paste helps, but not as much as the fluoride. So if you want to use the two alternately, go ahead.
Another question from the chat about prescription strength toothpaste if you start developing cavities. Is that a good idea?
Yes.
Simple answer. Okay, any other questions? Comments? My son had a childhood friend who ended up getting too much fluoride. because her father was a physician and misplaced a decimal point when he set up the fluoride drops for her.
Oh,
And the side effect was mottled teeth.
yeah. You're in Santa Rosa, right? And there isn't fluoride in the water, or very little of it, and not sufficient. And so it's recommended for children who are at high risk for tooth decay to use a fluoride supplement. This is a small little tablet or lozenge that's given on a daily basis, and the dose is appropriate for the age of the child. And so the idea behind it is that it replaces the fluoride that you would have gotten from fluoridated water. And especially with the liquid drops, used to be in the old days, the dropper, it would deliver the right dose in one single small drop. And so if you squeeze that dropper too much, whoa, you get 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 drops at one time. Now the droppers are calibrated such that you have to squeeze a whole tube full to get the same dose. You're looking at the clock.
Comment here from Alicia. A couple more questions in the chat. Let me check the chat.
Okay, I'll check that too.
Okay.
So I just wanted to show like what I get from my dentist, which is actually Fluoridex, which is a toothpaste. Can you see that? Tell me.
Yeah, let me just get you on speaker view. Yeah, I see that. Sensitive relief. Okay.
This is what I get from my dentist, which is Fluoridex, it's called.
Right, and it's got 5% fluoride. I'm trying to read the small print.
Oh, you're reading it. That's very good. It's got 1.1% sodium fluoride,
Right.
5,000 ppm.
Yeah, that's the same.
5% potassium nitrate.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. There's a lot of different companies that make that. That's one of them, and so it sounds like your dentist is on top of what's recommended. So that's good.
Seems so.
So there's a question about baking soda on the chat. It feels good. The baking soda makes the surface of your teeth feel slick, but if it's not containing fluoride, it's not gonna really help prevent cavities. Is food with sugar alcohol safe, healthy to use? Will it cause tooth decay? No, sugar alcohols are different, as I mentioned, and they're not going to cause tooth decay. Sugar alcohols are unusual. They're not alcohol, they're not sugar, but they're called sugar alcohols.
Another question back here.
Yeah.
Do water filters take the fluoride out of municipal water?
Some do. Reverse osmosis removes the fluoride, but the pure or Brita filter, which is more common, does not remove fluoride. With any filters, you have to make sure you change the filter, otherwise it clogs up and doesn't do its job properly.
Even starting here in Santa Rosa, we don't have the fluoride in the water anyway.
No, some people, are fearful of most things, and fluoride is no exception. And so they'll choose to do what they can to remove environmental factors, and that's understandable. But there isn't sufficient fluoride in the water, even in fluoridated water, to cause a problem. But I feel, feel sort of inconsequential in a way, because I'm very fortunate I don't have the kind of problems a lot of you have. And we don't all know why people develop Parkinson's, and I'm sure there's been some advances made over the years, but probably not enough research is going on.
I think we have one more question here.
Okay.
Is tooth whitening harmful?
No. So most of the tooth whitening products that are available over the counter are of a relatively low concentration, and so I would say they're not harmful. There are some that dentists may use in the office that are very high concentration products, but they wouldn't be used for home use.
Hey, I think that's rounds up the
Okay.
questions. Any last questions? Are we ready to break for our breakout groups? And thank you, Dr. Pollick. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And I want to thank Mark for inviting me. And I can see you've got a very active group. And I wish you well.